Hi, everyone, and hi to Lee. Fantastic to have you on here again, Lee. I absolutely love these sessions all around property and mindset. And always, whenever I take on a new mentor or speak to somebody, one of the biggest things that I touch on is your mindset and how generally, and this is going to go into what we're talking about today, if you want to change from being this person to that person, you have to make some changes. And quite often we are held back. So, Lee, great to have you here. How are you today?
Emma, I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing really well, thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, for anyone who doesn't know you, I wonder if you might introduce yourself before we jump into the topic today.
Sure, Emma. So my name is Lee Rubik, and I'm a mindset coach and mindset mentor for leaders. Um, what I do is I help business leaders remove money blocks and attract clients easily. And I work with individuals from all around the world, Emma Howard being one of them. And these business persons are experiencing quantum leaps in their results because of the ideas that we teach. So that's just a bit about what I do, Emma.
Fantastic, fantastic. I love it. And yes, when I first came across you, Lee, as I often mention, it was in a field. It was raining. I was kind of overwhelmed. Everything just never seemed to quite happen in the way I wanted it to happen. And one of the things that you spoke about a lot was this having a self image. And that's something that we're going to talk about today. And I really am excited to sort of delve into it. But when I look back, how different I am today to how I was then in so many ways that you might imagine are quite insignificant, but they're so significant. So I absolutely cannot wait to jump into this. So, just as a kind of a general opening, really, I mean, how can and how does one's self image influence their success in property investing?
Gosh, self-image is everything, Emma. It's like an automatic mechanism that's within you that determines where you go, determines what you do, how you'll do it. It's basically an inner image. So it's not the image that comes back from the mirror, as you know, but it's how you see yourself inside. And here's the thing: we can never outperform our self-image. Um, but the thing is, you can upgrade it. So you've got to, if you and I want to become a new person, a different person with different results, then we have to upgrade this internal mechanism. Otherwise, we're going to be sabotaging ourselves all the way to the bank.
Yeah, and that is a huge thing, isn't it? Because there are kind of two conflicting things. One thing, and I think that, you know, especially if you have young kids, which we do, there's a lot of your, you know, you're perfect as you are, which is absolutely correct. But there are certain things that we can, and so I've got two 18-year-old boys, and, you know, obviously I absolutely adore them, but I can see a lot of things that they can maybe alter or amend or change to become better people. And that's what I talk about every day is, you know, I am this person, but there's so much that I can do to become a better person. And I think that's quite hard, isn't it, initially? Because we start off with this, oh, we're great as we are. But how can you sort of weigh that up as far as, especially when we're talking to kids and things?
I think it's honesty, Emma. It's honesty. I mean, yes, little Rosabella is perfect just as she is. You know, when she came into this world, she was perfect. The spiritual DNA is perfect. Because at her center is spirit. That's the essential core of her. So she's perfect because spirit is perfect. But we become layered as we grow up. So we go to school and we get teased, and they'll tell us you were redhead, or this and that, and whatever it is. You have no father, whatever the case is, and all of these ideas, or even what our parents and our aunts, our uncles, our grandparents in the home tell us who we are, what we're capable of, all of those ideas get programmed into this image of yourself. And then we just live it out. It becomes essentially who we are, or it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy for our lives, and we live that out. And a lot of people don't even know that this self-image exists within them, let alone how to go about changing it. And that's what I'm hoping, that if one person, and we're streaming this across many platforms here, but if just one person gets this concept and puts it into action, I think our chat here will be worthwhile. You agree, Emma?
Absolutely. So you touched on something really interesting there, and I think I can really relate to this. Touch on that not everyone realizes that they even have a self-image. Can you sort of elaborate on that one a little bit more?
Sure. So let's understand where this concept firstly comes from on self-image. There was a man in the USA, doctor by the name of Dr. Maxwell Maltz, and he wasn't a personal development teacher or motivational speaker or anything like that. He was actually a plastic surgeon, and Dr. Maltz was doing operations on people. So let's say they'd come in and they've got a bad mark or scar on their face and they want it resolved, or maybe there's a deformity somewhere on their face and they want to fix it. He'll go about and he'll fix it for them. And he noticed after the successful operation that some of these individuals, some of his clients, showed up entirely differently. It was almost like they were a different person. And then he also noticed that with some other people, regardless of how successful his work was, there was no exterior change, meaning they just seemed to be the same person from a confidence, from a expression point of view. They were the same people. So this doctor then postulated that you've got two images. You've got the one, as I said earlier, right, that comes back from the mirror. That's what you're seeing right now on the screen, right, Emma? And then there's the image inside. And ultimately, the way you see yourself inside is going to show up on the outside. And this self-image is critical, absolutely critical to your confidence levels and to your self-esteem. And I mean, if we're going to get different results in business or on our journey into a property business, we have to upgrade this image so that it's in harmony with the results we want. And, maybe, I don't know if you want to comment on this, Emma, but maybe we can chat a bit more around exactly how this image works. Did you maybe want to say something more on what I've just uncovered there?
Yeah, definitely. And certainly within sort of, let's say, the property world. So in fact, I was talking to some of my mentees yesterday, and we were talking about, when you first start out, you feel like you know nothing. So I have a lot of people come on and they say, I know nothing about property. And like one of them was a letting agent. It's kind of like, well, you do know quite a bit about property. Yeah. And then there was another couple, really fantastic. I know really, we're really on the beginning of our journey and they've already done 2 flips. And it's kind of like, wow. And then even if, myself, for instance, when I first came into property, yes, I really didn't have any experience in property, but I had a huge amount of business experience, and various sort of negotiators, ways to get on with people. I'd done some self-development, all of those kind of things. But what you have when you kind of start out is this image of yourself, exactly like you say, and it's exactly like there would always be that like really pretty girl at school who would just make out that she was really fat and ugly, and you'd be looking at her going, are we looking at the same person? Because their self-image was so low compared to, and you just think, and I often look at, people that I would call just are lovely people. They're not supermodels, but equally they're not terrible. And they've got this amazing confidence and they are hot. Do you know what I mean? They're really hot because of that. It's this inner sort of confidence. And so it is understanding, and it was something that I really didn't understand, of how you walk, how you talk, how you do things. And I know we're going to talk later, but I got to the stage where I didn't even realize how I walked even. And I suddenly realized that there was a few things, just physical changes, as simple as that I needed to change. And also going into sort of especially networking scenarios, or I've actually got a really big call today, it is to me, it is way above my stations. You know, it is literally something so terrifying, but I'm not going to go in and go, oh, I'm really terrified. I'm literally going to talk the talk. I'm perfectly capable of doing it. Just because I haven't done this size of a project before doesn't mean that I can't do it. And it's kind of having that view of yourself where the people that just kind of go, you know, I can just do it, and they just kind of live in the way they feel they should do. Like you often say, don't you? And I do this a lot. What would your life look like if you're the person who's already achieved everything? Will go and behave like that. And that was like, that is unbelievable. To do something to think like that.
You mentioned two things I just want to comment on. So you talk about this really attractive woman. Like I'm working with a client now. She's super attractive, like really attractive. But you won't believe it. Her image, she, like exactly what you say. I look at her and I'm like, do you not see what the rest of us see? You know, her image is just, it's indifferent. Let's just say it's indifferent, and it was created in that little life where you were told these specific ideas about yourself. Now, you mentioned other individuals who might be mediocre, but yet they show up differently. Now, I want to ask you as a female, right, Emma, what do you find more attractive in a man? Do you find a man who shows up confidently, who takes control, who just exudes, you know, this phenomenal energy? Do you find that attractive in a man?
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting when, you know, you talk about when actually very attractive, physically very attractive people can actually be the most unattractive, can't they? And that's really kind of surprising when you look at it from that perspective, because actually there is more than that, isn't there? And actually, yeah, totally. And especially like with kids, I'm always kind of surprised, like, you know, Rosabella, she's got red hair. She's absolutely gorgeous as far as I'm concerned, obviously. But she equally does. Like she'll say things like, oh, isn't my hair a beautiful color? Because we've constantly said this to her. But clearly with red hair, she could have some issues. But she doesn't even, you know, she literally doesn't even bulk. Her brothers will call her, you know, ginger nut and, you know, be really rude. But she just doesn't even, she just says, yeah, I know my hair's really beautiful. And I love that. And that's what, you know, to have that from the start just puts you, to me, looking back on my life, it puts you a number of rungs further along. It kind of really helps you on your way. It's not the be all and end all. Obviously, we can all overcome stuff. Yeah. But it's interesting when you see that that growth perspective, certainly from a child as well.
Good on you, Mom. Good on you.
There's lots probably that I've really done badly, but I always say once you're 18, I'm sorry, I tried my best. You've now got to overcome anything that you feel I did so terribly wrong.
You also said something, and there's another thing I want to chat about that you mentioned earlier, but you said something there. There's an unseen part of you and I. There's an unseen part of you and I that has a greater impact on others around you than your physical appearance. And Emma, you know, it's your energy. So if you've got a healthy concept of yourself and you see yourself, you know, as worthwhile, as worthy, and you just got this amazing respect for who you are as a human being, when you step into a room, that's who you are. People might not see it on the outside, but I guarantee you they're going to feel it because we constantly communicating to people through our inner dialogue. So if you've got a healthy self-image and you constantly saying good things about yourself to yourself, and you're not beating yourself up, or having these negative inner dialogues, these conversations about yourself, but it's positive. People feel that, and that is so attractive. Like, people feel it. Not to get too egotistical, but I think people's interaction with me and you, I'm sure, I mean, Emma, you've been doing this work for a while now, has totally changed because I've worked on how I see myself on the inside. So my view on self-image is far more important than what's coming from the outside or what's expressed through the mirror. But ultimately, the way you see yourself is going to come through on the outside. And then just one other thing, you spoke about a networking event earlier. You said, going to a networking event. If you go to a networking event, a huge networking event tomorrow, and somebody walks in there, right? Let's say an attractive man, well dressed, he's got a beautiful suit on, like really well put together, but he walks in and his shoulders is drooped down, and he's got this sour expression on his face, and he just kind of walks to the room. Or that same man, well dressed, he walks into the room, shoulders back, bright smile. He's got this, a really nice smile on his face. He puts his hand out and he starts greeting and interacting with people. And he's just got this amazing energy about him, right? Same person, same attire. The difference is what's going on inside. And I guarantee you the second gentleman will have far better results in networking or in any sort of setting with that image, with that inner confidence.
Yeah, I think, and also there are certain times, and I suspect men are the same, but obviously I'm a woman. But there are certain times where I haven't really felt that confident for whatever reasons, and but I've done my best. For me, I like to put makeup on, and I like to kind of make an effort, put some jewelry on or whatever. And sometimes, and what I've learnt with your teachings is sometimes you just have to accept. You just got to accept what there is and make the most of it. So, for instance, I'm doing a presentation this evening, and there'll be moments that I'm going to feel unsure. I'm going to feel not as confident as I could be. But you can bet your bottom dollar, as soon as I walk in that thing, I've had to make that decision that I'm going to let all of that go, because I've made a promise, one, to the person who's running this, I'm going to do a great presentation. And for me to be able to do a great presentation, I've got to give all my confidence. Like you said, I've got to have a really high energy level. I've got to really give everything I can. And if I'm just sat there, exactly as you said, self-doubting, oh, what's this, what's that? And actually, there were times when I might have thought, oh, they might ask me a question. What happens if I don't know the answer? I'm kind of like, bring it on now. I quite like that. I can't wait to have these questions coming to me, and I kind of talk it through beforehand. And I think, it's has been for me, and I know you're going to go on about talking about your self-image and how you can grow it, but it's kind of just accepting also what I've got and just making the most of that moment. And yeah, I'm always, people will often say to me, wow, you've just got incredible energies. And I'm thinking, oh, is that not just the same for everyone? But there is a time, like I've come on these kind of events where 10 minutes beforehand, I've not been in the best place. But it's kind of a choice, isn't it? Like, I come on these things to give my absolute best. Do I sometimes think that I can do better? Yes, but I don't go, that was rubbish. It's kind of like, okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to accept it and move forward. So
you wanna be your biggest cheerleader, right? You want to be your biggest cheerleader. And I think one of the best pieces of advice, you're doing this big presentation now. One of the biggest or the best pieces of advice I've received in terms of how to show up in front of an audience. Bill Gover was the father of professional speaking in the United States of America. He said you owe your audience a couple of things. So show up on time, make sure you're prepared, make sure you're going to give them value, There's a couple of points you need to tick off. Show up on time, give them value, be prepared. But he used to say, I hope they like me. It's better that way. He says, I like me. I hope they like me. But if they don't, that's not my problem. Now, there's no way that audience that you're standing in front of, or anybody listening to this, whenever you get up in front of a group of people, guaranteed, if you come in with a strong point of view, guaranteed that there are some individuals in that room that's not going to agree with you. And that's okay, right? I mean, it should be okay for people to disagree. You don't need everyone to agree with you. Your tribe will find you. So those people that resonate with your message and that agree with you, right, Emma, they will find you. They will find you. The thing is, you've just got to be you. There's a wonderful book. I might have it on the bookshelf behind me by Sally Whitaker, I think it is, the author. And she says, what others think of me is none of my business. It's true. I mean, that's the only way to really remain sane. Imagine trying to juggle everybody's expectations, Emma, and what everybody thought about you in that room. I mean, it would literally drive you insane. You just got to prepare, deliver value, show up there, give a strong point of view, and then make sure you give them value and then get out of there. You've done your best, but don't beat yourself up. Be your biggest cheerleader. And if there are people in that room that are your tribe, they'll find you.
Yeah, and in fact, and I'm just about to come, Richard has asked a few questions. Yeah, one of the biggest things that got me through a number of years is it's none of my business what anyone else thinks of me. It's my business what I think of myself. And as long as you can sleep at night, as long as you can, follow through, and quite often, you've got this thing, haven't you, of other people paying rent, but actually not giving you any money and taking up headspace. And I had a couple of years where it was very difficult to remove that. So I'd literally, it was almost like la, 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 la. I would repeat it over and over again. It's none of my business what anyone else, because these were people that made quite a big sort of statement about how they felt about me, and it was quite upsetting. But I couldn't control that. That was not something that I could control, how they felt. So I had to just control the way I behaved, the way I did things, and what I did. And yeah, that statement was massively powerful for me. But